and he was just dissing America.
And quotes from him when he's younger on television saying, "No, I don't think that there's a right to a Palestinian state."
So you see all of that, and people say
totally
it's the Palestinian fault. So when you push people for a certain limit, when you continue to dealing people like animals, they will behave like animals.
Egypt didn't want the Palestinians. Nobody in the region wanted the Palestinians. The unspoken truth of the Arab Brotherhood is that the Palestinians don't really count and are disrespected. And Egypt said they can't come here because we have too many. Jordan said, we're like all Palestinians here. They can't come here. And that is the counter narrative.
Okay, I can answer that counter narrative.
Although Egypt did say early on, but we're not saying they can't. We're saying we shouldn't. They shouldn't have to because they have a home.
You see, this is again one of the talking points that get repeated, and people don't know the reality behind it. People say like Arab people do not accept Palestinians. First of all, there are 2.5 million Palestinians in Jordan already. There are 4,600 Palestinians in Lebanon already. There are 5,900 people in Syria already. Egypt, my wife has had like a refugee document. So we have many, but we don't count them. You know why? Because we don't treat them as refugees. We treat them as part of the country.
Let's make one thing clear. Israel's problem isn't just the bombs they drop. It's the whole story they keep selling to the world. A fake story designed to make them look innocent while Palestinians are slowly erased. And yet, when people speak up and tell the truth, suddenly they are labeled as the problem. This is exactly where Western media, even the ones pretending to be neutral, push the same tired excuse, why don't Arab countries just take Palestinians? But does that make ethnic cleansing okay? Does that erase Israel's crime? Of course not. And then you have people like Chris Cuomo who just repeat these pre-written talking points, ignoring history and acting like Palestinians are a burden instead of victims of decades of brutal occupations. But watch what happens when someone who actually knows the truth steps in. Stay with me because you are about to see a takedown that cuts through all the lies with real facts.
Right? So Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. We have already taken a lot, but when we take them, we basically allowing Israel to do what they want, which is evacuating the land from Israel. And the whole thing about like, we're killing them, why don't you take them, is like you going out in the street, shooting someone in the face, and you're angry at your neighbors for not burying him. It's crazy. It's like that you're basically blaming the people that don't want to take them, but you don't blame the side of the conflict that's doing the killing. It's madness. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. I also don't think that...
And also for Israel, I'm Israeli. Let's say some miracle, Egypt says today, all right, let's take them. 2.2 million people goes into the Sinai. They have access to the sea. What do you think these 2.2 million, they're just going to sit there? They're going to retaliate, try to come back. They're going to have the sea open for them now. They're going to have Israel like controlling. This is going to be the Egyptian problems, and then
spreads like an infection.
And then they're going to have weapons. They're going to have an open desert in the Sinai. Is this safer for Israel?
Right. Everywhere is like Yemen.
Now you're going to create like a very unstable focus that's not going to be good for Egypt, nor good for Israel. So it's not even. So it's not. Here's the thing. Do you notice how the pro-Israeli people talk about the West Bank? They say Judea and Samaria, aka West Bank. Judea and Samaria, aka West Bank. They are already changing it.
Yeah.
Because if they can do that to 2.2 million people in Gaza, in a few years from now, they're going to find another Hamas in West Bank. And they're going to bomb the West Bank.
Hamas is growing in popularity in the West Bank now because of what's happening there.
Of course. Enemy of my enemy is my hero. Okay? And the thing is, you have already the 3.5 people, they have no rights. The land is being taken away from, like a Jewish person from Poland can land in Israel, take a land of a Palestinian that's been living there for 600 years. Doesn't make any sense. So, and now they're going to push people into Jordan. It's like, why doesn't Jordan take them? Why doesn't Saudi Arabia take them? And here's the thing about my relationship with Israel. Growing up, I had absolutely no problem with Israel. Of course, they are our enemies. We fought 4 wars with them. But I was one of those people who really liked Sadat for doing the peace process. Because, and I know that we were like, we dealt short, the negotiation was bad. Kissinger was like a master. But at the end of the day, we took Sinai and peace, no more war. I'm like, please, anything. Let's have whatever compromise, but no more war. So I have no problem with Israel existing. And when people's like, Israel's like, where are you going to take? There's like, there 9 million people. Where are they going to go? Khalas, it's complicated. And a lot of people hate me for having this very centrist, but I said I was practical. But then I see those people who have a lot of people in the Arab world acknowledging their existence. Okay, have used it. They're not acknowledging other people's existence. They're not acknowledging the Palestinians. They're even becoming to question my existence as an Egyptian. Because now you see, I'm not talking about like people on Facebook, I'm talking about official ministers. They are going there in rallies and having the greater Israel map behind them. What does that tell you? From the Nile to the Euphrates, they're basically swallowing 8 Arab countries, half of Egypt, half of Iraq, all of Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, parts of Saudi Arabia, and parts of Turkey. So when you get me that, wait, I've been accepting you all your life, and now you are accepting me. So I want to tell the Israelis, I want to tell the people who say that Israel, the Jewish people have more right in this land, more the Palestinians. I have one question for them. Explain to me why is that so without using religion.
Without using religion?
Yeah.
I understand the point.
Because what do they say? Because like God gave it to us. Which God? We are the chosen one. Chosen by whom? It's a promised land. Promised by whom? Your God. It's not my God.
I don't think any of it should be based on religion.
But here's the thing. All of like the liberal Zionists, I'm talking about the liberal Zionists now, who like support Israel. This like, we are secular, we're democratic, we separation of church and state. And when it talks about Israel, it's biblical. All of a sudden, it's biblical.
Well,
it's because of the Holocaust. What did we have to do with it?
No, it's not just because of the Holocaust. It's because when the issue becomes whether people want Jewish people to exist, Israel to exist, you're making it existential. And what does make them different is their faith. And as an extension of that, the blood of people in that faith. And, from the river to the sea scares
Of course, people. But you know who came up with this?
What, Israel?
Yeah, the Likud Party Charter, 1977. Haven't you read it?
But it's not who's using it now.
You can clearly see Chris Cuomo knows it's Israel, but he is double checking if Bassem is talking about Israel or not. The reason seems clear when in your mind you are set to defend a particular party, no matter what the opposite party puts on the table in a debate, then the debate actually becomes invalid, just like Chris Cuomo is making it here. No matter what Bassem says about Israel's action, killing people, committing genocide, for Chris Cuomo, he will say, yes, I can see Israel is doing wrong, but they could wipe out the whole Gaza, and they didn't. So that's not genocide. Like, what? That means as of now, the people killed in Palestine mean nothing? Their lives weren't valuable to you, Chris? You will only feel sorry when Israel wipes out everyone? It's really becoming unbearable to take Chris Cuomo's points right now. Guys, please let me know in the comments what do you think about his point of view. And now let's continue hear what he wants to say about this matter.
You wanna hear? It says
But
like this:
doesn't
the
it
rights
matter
of
who's using it and
wait,
how?
the rights of the Jewish people in the land of Israel is eternal and indisputable, and it is important for and it connects to the right of our peace and security. Therefore, Judea and Samaria will never be handed to a foreign administration. From the sea to the Jordan, there will only be Israeli sovereignty. We just make it rhyme better.
You make it rhyme better. But it's like,
Have you read it? But the thing is, this is what Israel does. They do stuff and they project it on you. Those people who are chanting from the river
But
to
you
the sea,
can't blame
Palestinian,
Israel.
and you can't blame the people for chanting for that because they're desperate. They don't have a superpower supporting them. They don't have the international media supporting them. And all of them can see, and they go and shout and they chant in the streets. But the official charter of Israel, the official people, they're talking about from the river to the sea, Greater Israel. So how can you compare people in the streets or Facebook by the official stand of the Israeli government?
Israel is not trying to expand its borders into Turkey and Iraq, and that's not going to happen. Okay.
Well, we thought. We thought that Gaza was not going to happen, and we thought that.
Well, but look,
we thought that the illegal settlement would not expand that much.
This has been happening since Israel was formed, in one way or another.
Okay.
And I believe it's a situation where the problem has always worked better than any solution. Kind of like our southern border. Things that frighten people, things that keep people divided, things that keep people angry are a very good control mechanism. I was talking to somebody about you today, and they're like, you got to talk to him all about his medical career and how he feels about it. I said, I get it. If you focus on healing and what matters for people. What you're doing with laughter, what you're doing with instructive humor, what you're doing with satire is so powerful. And it can be healing. I think the dialogue is healing. Look,
I'm loving this because
it's easy for me to have the conversation though, because I'm not emotionally and personally invested the way you are and the way Jewish people are. I have a lot of Jews in my life. I have Jews in my family. But I have Arabs in my life. I have Muslims in my life. I don't have them in my family, as far as I know. But it doesn't matter to me. But it's easier for me to have the conversation. I don't have blood on the line the way other people do. And I respect that. A lot of Americans don't. They believe they can own an issue even though they have no part of it. Some people with more extended value than others. Like, I understand why Black people have an affinity to seeing minorities oppressed in other places of the world. I understand that. I understand why they would see commonality. I get it. And I think it's important to engage it. I do think that a lot of the explanations have their place, but are also a distraction from the present. Like, Blinken is over there. Israel just said no to the latest. I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but it'll probably be true 5 times between now and whenever this ends, whatever that means. That Israel's saying, no. This phase deal, it's too long. We're not getting enough. I don't understand how this ends in a way. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how it ends at all.
Here at the end, this is the first time I think Chris Cuomo has paid some respect to everyone and put everyone equally in the same category while giving his opinion. Now, if he has said this honestly, then I appreciate Chris for it. But if this is just an act of pretending to be neutral after previously humiliating Gaza and defending Israel, then I condemn it. And guys, what do you think? Was Chris Cuomo actually being neutral here? Or was it just another excuse from Chris Cuomo to stay neutral? Let me know what do you think in the comment.
Well, again, you asked a question. I told you, go back to the root of the problem like we do in medicine. And I'm telling you, you do an incredible job because I've watched you many times. You have an ability. You're an empath. You put yourself in other people's shoes so you can understand. And I respect that about you. You're a big empath. You're empathic with people, and sometimes when I tell people put yourself into the other people's shoes, and someone who does that beautifully is Gideon Levy, the Israeli reporter.
Yeah,
wonderful.
He is good.
Wonderful, and he's very fair. He's an Israeli reporter in the house, and he's very fair. And sometimes when because it seems that for so long, and I'm sorry to say this, people don't want to hear anything from the Arab side, so I use Israeli quotes. And one of my favorite quotes, believe it or not, is by Ben Gurion, the George Washington of Israel. He said, and this is a quote from the book The Jewish Paradox by Nahum Goldman. He said, if I was an Arab leader, I would not sign an agreement with Israel. It's natural. We took their land. I mean, yes, God promised it to us, but our God is not theirs. Why would they accept it? Why would that mean anything to us? Yes, there was anti-Semitism, Nazis, the Jews, Auschwitz, but why would they pay for it? We are coming here to take their land, and you do not accept it. That is a direct quote by the founder of Israel. And he, in another speech, 1938, he said, let's be true to ourselves. Politically, we are the oppressors, and they defend themselves. We're coming here to inhabit, and they're already here. And then he said something mind-blowing. He said, behind the terrorism by Arabs is a movement, though primitive, but yet it is not the voice of idealism and self-sacrifice. I can just take those two quotes and put it in front of everybody. Somebody will say Hamas, I will tell them Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu, 2019, in a Likud party, said in order to prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state, someone should bolster Hamas, give them money. We've been doing that. That's been our strategy. So I don't understand the cognitive dissonance that people get me like Hamas, October 7th. And guys, don't you see what you're doing?
There's a continuum.
Like in 2001, in the video with Netanyahu, I'm sure you've seen that video when they say I have sabotaged the Oslo Accords. He was like proud of it, and he was just dissing America.
And quotes from him when he's younger on television saying, "No, I don't think that there's a right to a Palestinian state."
So you see
I don't
all
believe
of
so."
that, and
I
people say
totally
it's the
get it.
Palestinian fault. So when you push people for a certain limit, when you continue to dealing people like animals, they will behave like animals.
Here is the truth. Bassem Youssef just gave us a masterclass in breaking down the same old recycled talking points that erase history. And Chris, well, he's trying, but you can tell he is still trapped in that Western media bubble, twisting himself in circles to avoid saying the quiet part out loud. You can almost imagine his producers whispering in his earpiece, "Careful, Chris, don't show too much empathy." And then comes that tired question: why don't Arab countries just take the Palestinians? That's like asking why your neighbor don't adopt your kids after your house is burned down by criminal. Now let's talk about Israel's biblical excuse. Whenever a liberal Zionist wants to sound modern, they talk about democracy and human rights. But the moment you ask why they deserve more rights to land the Palestinians, suddenly it's God gave it to us. Really? Since when our ancient scriptures were real estate agents? But here's the kicker. Bassem didn't just bring arguments, he brought receipts. Direct Israel quotes. Ben-Gurion himself admitted, yes, we took their land. Of course they are angry. Even Likud admitted their plan was to fund Hamas to keep Palestinians divided. And yet when Palestinians react after decades of occupation and oppression, it's somehow their fault? Make it make sense. So let me leave you with this. If your home was stolen, your family displaced, and your very existence debated on primetime TV, what would you do? You cannot call it both sides when one side has F-16s and the other side has homemade rockets. You cannot call it complicated when Israel's own leaders admit the crimes, and you cannot expect Palestinians to disappear just because it's convenient for someone else's politics. This isn't about history, it's about religion, it's about power, and unchecked power will always be abused. Stay sharp, stay informed, and don't fall for the propaganda. This is me from Bold Take. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.